Hey y'all. Let's take a look now at how we write an equation when we have not been given a graph. All we've been given is a table. So look at this table here. On a graph, if I needed to write an equation, the first thing I would do is I would find the rise and the run for the slope. Well, I don't have it on a picture, so I could do one of two things. I could either graph it, which takes even longer, or I can find the rise and the run a different way. Slope, if you remember, measures the constant rate of change. Looking at these, I've got X and Y values. I can clearly identify, and pretty easily too, a pattern that's happening in this table. As I move across this table, my X's go from -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm actually adding 1 each time to my X values. So I would say my rate of change for my X's is a +1. Now, looking at my Y's, I'm going from -1 to +1 to 3 to 5 to 7. So each time here, I am adding 2. Now, I hope you remember that slope is the measure of rise over run. That means how much it's going up and down, over top, how much it's going left and right. What that also says, sometimes in algebra and geometry, that's written as the change in y over the change in x. What I need to do here, because of the fact that my table has x then y, I need to take these numbers and I need to flip them. So I actually end up with a slope up here that is 2 over 1. And if you remember correctly, we have to simplify or reduce that, which becomes 2. So my m in my equation is going to be 2. Now, for the y-intercept, one of the things you learned was that the y-intercept is on where the line crosses the y-axis. Well, when the line crosses the y-axis, it means for that ordered pair, the x value is 0. In my table, I can see 0 right here. That means that the number with the 0, this 3, is my y-intercept. Now that I've got my m and my b, I'm going to plug them into my equation. Y equals 2x plus 3. Let's do one more. Here's my next example. Again, no graph. So I'm going to look for the change. How are these numbers in each row changing? Well, in my x values, -6 to -2, -2 to +2 to 6 to 10, it's adding 4 each time. So my change in my x is +4. Looking at my y's, -4 to -2 to 0 is actually +2. And remember, slope is change over y and change in x. My change in y is +2. My change in x is +4. And the fraction 2/4 reduces down to 1/2. So my slope is 1/2. My y-intercept here is not as easy because remember, I'm looking for the table where the x value is 0. Most eyes are drawn to this 0 and they say, okay, the y-intercept is 2, but this 0 is not in there for the x value. So what do I do when there's no 0 in the table for x? Well, I'm smart enough to understand I can spread this table out and I can make one. I'm going to take my table, I'm going to spread it out a little bit. And I know that for these values, this was -4, this was -2, this was 0, this was 2, and this was 4. So if this was my table, where would 0 go if it were in this table? Well, hopefully you recognize 0 would actually fall right in the middle between this -2 and this +2. Now, right in the middle of -2 and +2 means that this value right here, which is going to be my b value, is going to be right in the middle of -2 and 0. And you know by looking at a number line, the number in between -2 and 0 is going to be -1. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to plug them into my equation. So I end up with y equals 1/2 x minus 1.